Imagine standing on a battlefield at dawn, the air thick with tension, as the first rays of sunlight catch a sea of golden pomegranates gleaming like fire. Your heart races as you realize what's before you. The Immortals, Persia's legendary elite warriors, a force of 10,000 men whose very name strikes fear into the bravest of hearts. These are no ordinary soldiers. They are the backbone of an empire, an unbreakable unit that has haunted the dreams of their enemies for over 2 centuries. Even Alexander the Great, history's most renowned conqueror, felt a chill of anticipation when he first faced them. Who were these warriors who inspired such awe and dread? How did they transform from mere gods into architects of an empire? Their story isn't just about battles. It's a saga of innovation, discipline, and cultural revolution that reshaped the ancient world and continues to echo in military history. Let's journey back to the dusty plains of Persepolis and the blood-soaked battlefields where empires clashed, to uncover the legacy of the Immortals, a legacy that lives on in every elite military unit today. The tale of the Immortals begins with a visionary leader, Cyrus the Great, who saw the flaws in Persia's traditional army of noble warriors. One fateful morning, during a chaotic raid, as he watched his cavalry struggle to fight on foot against agile tribal enemies, Cyrus had an epiphany. An empire couldn't be built on part-time soldiers tied to outdated tactics. He dreamed of something radical, a professional standing army that could adapt to any challenge, any terrain, any mission. Breaking with centuries of tradition, Cyrus didn't just recruit from noble families. Instead, he sent his trusted generals across the vast Persian Empire to find the best warriors, men with strength, skill, and sharp minds, regardless of their birth. This was a groundbreaking idea that shook the foundations of Persian society. The selection process for these warriors was brutal. Persian records tell of hardened fighters reduced to tears during the trials. Candidates marched for days through scorching deserts, carrying full gear weighing over 25 kilograms. They solved complex tactical puzzles while exhausted and faced loyalty tests that turned friends against each other. Out of the first 100,000 who dared to try, only 10,000 emerged as immortals. This number wasn't random. In Persian culture, 10,000 symbolized divine perfection, a bridge between the mortal and spiritual worlds. Cyrus used this symbolism to give his new force not just military might, but a sacred aura. He housed them in grand barracks overlooking Persepolis, paid them generously from his own treasury with salaries equivalent to tens of thousands of dollars annually in today's terms, and granted them privileges that made nobles green with envy. Their families received royal pensions, their children studied alongside princes, and their commanders dined with the king himself. What truly made the Immortals stand out was their training. Unlike other ancient armies that trained sporadically, they followed the world's first year-round, systematic program. They mastered every weapon, from the deadly Persian composite bow to cutting-edge siege tools. They learned formations so intricate that Greek observers likened their movements to a dance. Most impressively, they were taught to think independently, making them versatile enough to act as shock troops or split into smaller units for covert missions. Within a decade, they became a force unlike any other. Warriors who could outride cavalry, outshoot archers, outmaneuver infantry, and breach fortifications thought to be impregnable. Their first major test came at the Siege of Sardis, where they scaled a sheer cliff face, over 100 meters high under the cover of night, infiltrating the citadel no one believed could fall. The ancient world took notice. A new era of warfare had begun. Their reputation grew, fueled by their striking appearance. Clad in richly embroidered tunics, scale armor that shimmered like dragon skin, and headdresses topped with golden pomegranates, they were a sight to behold. 10,000 warriors moving in perfect unison, their discipline unmatched, was a psychological weapon in itself. Enemies, used to facing disorganized tribal levies, often lost half the battle before a spear was even thrown. But the secret to their mystique lay in their name, Immortals. When one fell in battle, aged, or fell ill, a trained replacement stepped in immediately. Their ranks never dwindled below 10,000, never weakened, never aged. To their enemies they seemed inhuman, a force that couldn't be diminished or outlasted. As one Greek commander wrote after facing them, "How do you defeat an enemy who cannot die?" The Immortals weren't just a product of Persian might. They were a fusion of cultures, blending Median craftsmanship with Persian martial skill. This union began in the bustling markets of conquered Ecbatana, where Persian warriors marveled at Median smiths forging Damascus steel with exotic minerals. What if the fierce spirit of the steppes could merge with the finest metallurgy of the age? Median armorers, persuaded by Persian gold, often payments worth hundreds of thousands of dollars in today's money, experimented with new techniques. They layered high-carbon and pattern-welded steel to craft armor that was lighter yet stronger than anything known. Each suit made of over 5,000 scales, curved to deflect blows, and finished with a unique blue-black sheen. But their gear wasn't just functional, it was a psychological weapon. Their gleaming armor and golden ornaments dazzled enemies, while the rhythmic stomp of their feet and the eerie whistle of their hollow spears, heard over kilometers, unsettled even the bravest foes. By the time battle was joined, many opponents were already shaken. Their tactics were just as innovative. Breaking from tradition, they used giant shields that interlocked to form instant fortifications, turning a mobile unit into an impenetrable wall in seconds. Their hollow spears, a marvel of engineering, were lighter, allowing for longer reach without losing control, and produced a haunting howl when swung in unison, a sound that became a harbinger of doom. They trained relentlessly in hand-to-hand combat, blending Persian wrestling with Median pressure point techniques, ensuring they could outfight nomads on horseback one day and outmaneuver Greek phalanxes the next. Their chain of command was equally revolutionary. Unlike rigid hierarchies, each immortal was trained for multiple roles, able to lead or follow as needed. They pioneered hand signals and flag codes for silent, complex battlefield communication, a system unseen until the Roman legions centuries later. Beyond the battlefield, the Immortals were more than warriors. They were diplomats and administrators. A Babylonian ambassador visiting Persepolis was stunned when an immortal commander greeted him in flawless Akkadian and discussed astronomy from Babylonian ziggurats. This wasn't by chance. Every immortal learned at least 3 languages, studied navigation through astronomy, and mastered diplomatic customs of a dozen cultures. They became the world's first hybrid of special forces and diplomatic corps. Soon, they handled everything from tax collection in rebellious provinces to overseeing irrigation projects spanning hundreds of kilometers. Their golden pomegranate standard, once a symbol of terror in war, became a sign of competent governance in troubled regions. Their influence permeated Persian society. At court, they formed the ancient world's first professional intelligence service, blending military precision with political savvy. Their battlefield signals proved just as effective for passing messages through the intricate politics of the capital. A subtle gesture during a royal audience could send information racing to distant provinces within days. They introduced rotating governorships, serving limited terms in provinces to prevent personal power grabs while ensuring consistent rule. These governorships mixed strict authority with progressive ideas. They might execute a corrupt official one day and fund a new school of mathematics the next. Archaeological finds in Persepolis revealed their quieter impacts. They supported artists, funded science, and documented knowledge from across the empire, turning them into agents of cultural exchange. Their pursuit of perfection was relentless. At midnight in Persepolis, while the empire slept, 10,000 men rose in silence, no horns, no drums. Their first daily test was to assemble without a sound. Failure meant a day in full armor under the desert sun. By dawn, each warrior ran over 30 kilometers in gear, swam rivers in bronze armor, and scaled walls carrying comrades. Afternoons were spent in battle simulations so complex, complete with artificial sandstorms and sabotaged equipment, that they wouldn't be matched until modern war games. Their diet, crafted by the Empire's best physicians, included rare ingredients like purple honey from Nepal's mountains, for night vision, and fermented mare's milk for endurance. In their legendary training ground, the Field of Arrows, they fought in darkness, using only touch and sound, communicated via intricate drum beats over vast distances, and even mastered combat in water, a skill that shattered enemies who saw rivers as barriers. Mental training was as grueling as physical. They solved tactical puzzles under stress, woken at night with incomplete battle scenarios, and forced to decide amid chaos. Every 3 months, they switched roles. Archers became spearmen, cavalry turned infantry, ensuring unmatched flexibility. Their logistics were revolutionary too. They calculated exact needs for food, water, and gear, pre-positioning supplies along routes spanning thousands of kilometers. This allowed lightning-fast strikes where least expected. Their sustainability came from a unique replacement system. Each active immortal trained 2 successors over years, retiring only when both met the standard, preserving their culture of excellence for generations. Their debut at the Battle of Thambra in 547 before Common Era showcased the future of warfare. Facing Lydia's massive army, their precise formations and golden standard stunned King Croesus. They turned supply trains into weapons, using loaded camels to disrupt cavalry, shifted formations instantly from defense to attack, and baited enemies into traps by opening gaps in their lines only to close them with devastating effect. They mastered psychological warfare, drilling within sight of city walls before withdrawing, letting fear spread. Many cities surrendered without a fight. At Sardis, they scaled an unclimbable cliff over 100 meters high at night, proving no fortress was safe. At the Battle of the Eclipse in 585 before Common Era, they timed an attack with a solar eclipse, using their night fighting skills to crush enemies in sudden darkness, cementing a supernatural aura. Their influence reached far beyond Persia. At their peak under Darius the Great, the mere mention of their arrival, "The Immortals are coming," could quell rebellions. From the Indus Valley to Greece, their golden standards decided fates. Greek mercenaries in Memphis paid fortunes, equivalent to millions of dollars today, to learn their secrets. Egyptian pharaohs, Indian rajas, and Greek tyrants sent soldiers to study Persian methods, spreading their innovations across continents. They turned the empire into a meritocracy, where a shepherd's son could outrank a noble if he earned the golden pomegranate, challenging ancient social norms. Their military treatises, copied widely in Alexandria, shaped global warfare, from weapon designs to leadership models. Yet, their success sowed the seeds of decline. As the empire stabilized under their governance, military prowess gave way to administrative focus. The warrior scholars became scholar administrators, still formidable, but less the cutting-edge fighters of old. This shift proved fatal when they faced Alexander the Great, who had studied and refined their tactics. At Issus, they mirrored his strategies, adopting a modified Macedonian phalanx, but Alexander's willingness to abandon convention, charging directly into prepared positions, caught them off guard. At Gaugamela, their hollow square formation briefly held his army at bay, impressing Alexander enough to adopt it. Their final stand at Persepolis saw them revert to protectors of Persian culture, evacuating scholars and artifacts as the city fell. A last battalion held a nameless mountain pass, buying time for the royal family's escape, earning a monument from Alexander himself, inscribed with, "Here fought the bravest men we ever faced." Mandakand. Though they vanished, some speculate into the eastern deserts, perhaps influencing Asian warfare. Their legacy endured. Alexander adopted their administrative systems and training ideas. Their model of warrior scholars inspired Rome's Praetorian Guard and the Ottoman Janissaries. Even today, modern special forces like America's Delta Force study their methods. In 2019, excavations under Persepolis uncovered training facilities with acoustic designs and underwater combat areas mirroring modern bases. Their drum codes anticipated radio encryption, and their armor's anti-reflective finish aided night missions. Military psychologists still analyze their unit cohesion techniques, and generals like David Petraeus note their relevance to hybrid warfare. The Immortals proved soldiers could be more than fighters. They could build civilizations. As we face modern challenges in warfare and peacekeeping, their ancient wisdom remains not just history, but a guide for the future.